good, everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to do something a bit different, in all honesty. When it comes down to this, I have to admit, this is the most subjective thing to make a tier list on. So, yeah. There's going to be some hate. There's going to be some outrage. Yeah. Anyway, if anything, I'm probably just going to delete row, because that is just a weird one. So for now, we're going to focus on these rows, mainly. A, B, C, D, and F tier. There is an S tier. Oh wait, I can actually fit it. I wasn't too confident in that, but now I guess I am a bit confident in it. So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to rank all the Pokemon main tile series, but I found this list on Tier Maker, so yeah. But I'm going to have to get rid of the ones that I have not played. So, Pokemon, this version of Pokemon Coliseum, I have not played. It's the GameCube version. I have not. And I have not played the one with Shadow Lugia. So I'm sorry for those that actually like those games. I never really had the chance to play it. I never knew it came out for GameCube. And yeah. And me going out to go get the game is pretty much going to be a hard no because of how expensive those games are. So, okay. Now I'm going to rank all these Pokemon games. And hopefully I don't get a lot of hate because of it. So, let's get on to the main ones. First up, we have Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. These two are going to be ranked together, and I'm not going to rank Pokemon Green, mainly because that is only belonging to Japan. It's region lock. But if I did have to rank it, it would be ranked with Pokemon Red and Blue, mainly because they all have the same features, the same faults, and all this and all that. Now, despite being the first main game, I do have to give its respects because it was the first Pokemon game to implement everything. Though I'm going to have to say that for Gen 1, the stats and all that was pretty outrageous, not going to lie. I mean, psychic types were pretty broken there, in all honesty. And I just can't process that one because they combined I think they combined the attack and special attack and the special defense and the main defense together, and that made psychic moves physical moves, which dealt a lot of damage. Honestly, there was a lot of stuff to say about Pokemon Red and Blue, and mainly those things were the biggest issues. And yeah, honestly, it hurts to really say this, but it has to go in essentially D tier. I don't hate the games. I think they're pretty cool to come back to here and there, but in an objective way of saying stuff, I can't really give it any higher than that. If I was going to be really favorable, I would put it into C tier. And essentially, I could do that, but that is just me being nice about it. If you want my objective thought process, it's going to be D tier. That's final. There's a lot of stuff to really say, but I want to make sure that it's short, simple, and all that. It's a good first game, and Nintendo was really, well, the people of Pokemon were really onto something when they made the first game. It just needed a lot more improvements, which they got in later generations. And next is Pokemon Yellow, which implemented the third game mechanic. And by third game mechanic, I mean usually the third game that comes out in most cases until we got to Generation 5. More on that later, but for Pokemon Yellow, I'm gonna have to say it's it's a bit more of a downgrade. I mean, the positives to it is we can get uh, Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur all in one game. So that's a thing that's really great about this one, and we don't have the issue of having to trade or anything like that. But our starters Pikachu, we got the first gym, which is a rock type gym, and you can't get those three until after you complete Cerulean. Also, there was many Pokemon that was region locked, like Meowth, Ekans, and Coughing, because Pokemon Yellow was made to be an imitation towards the anime, which honestly makes this harder. But with the resources it had at the time, I think there was a few events, you could teach your Pikachu Surf, if I remember correctly, which is really cool, but it can't really save it from all the downgrades because I think Electabuzz was also not added into um, Pokemon Yellow because there's a list of Pokemon from the Safari Zone that I believe was taken out or just put into the wild. No, no, they were taken out. I'm looking at it right now. So while it does have some great points, I'm gonna have to make it go a rank down from red and blue. I honestly can't defend this game in any way, shape, or form to give a good point on uh, putting it any higher than it should be. Now, what can I say about Pokemon Gold and Silver? Well, it's a vast improvement to Pokemon Red and Blue, that's for sure. It actually separated the attack and defense to special attack and special defense, and the physical attack and defense. We also got dark types and steel types, which increase the um, shit. I it increased the type diversity and made more weaknesses, more advantages, more of everything, so that things become a bit more fair in Pokemon. We got the Johto region, and while the starter Pokemon for Johto was a bit questionable when it comes down to its starter types, Not to say I hate the star types in Johto, but yeah. Hmm. But overall, they're pretty good tiles. But yeah, Joe solved a lot of the issues that was in Gen 1, and immediately, overall, I'm going to have to put it into a rank higher because of it. Huh. Jeez. Hmm. Though I am not going to get it any higher because we do have some Pokemon that we can't get until we get into Kanto, which is a really cool thing that was added into Joe as well. We get to go to Joe, we get to go to Kanto, we get to fight the gym leaders we beat in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, get all 16 badges, and fight Red. One of the difficult, one of the most difficult people to face in the early parts of Pokemon, only to soon be uh, replaced after a certain generation. And between, and to be completely honest, it's more of a, you know how a scale is? There's some people say that red is more harder to face, and there's uh, other people saying the other character is harder to face. And you all know who I'm talking about. So, there we go. Now, on to the next part, which is Pokemon Crystal. Hmm. Hmm. What can I say about Crystal? Honestly, it's the first Johto game I played, in all honesty. I didn't play Gold and Silver first, I played Crystal. Yeah, and I'm going to explain the first Pokemon game I actually played, and it may surprise you a bit, so yeah, but it might also be reasonable at the same time, too. Oh, I don't know what to really say about that. Hey, sorry. Uh, my recording system crashed. I That was really weird. When I was thinking about Crystal, I also realized one other thing about Johto, and it was the leveling system. It was weird. Like you would expect around um yeah. I okay, let me give a good example. You know in uh where you have to fight the Elite Four? Well, when you face Lance, his Pokemon, mainly his Dragonites, are all inappropriately leveled. They're not over level 55, they're not level 55, they're just in the 40s. And in Kanto, you don't really face people with Pokemon that are higher level. You face Pokemon at a lower level, which is very inconsistent and it doesn't really help fully with the story progression because it leads to the whole fact that Red's Pokemon are very high leveled. And you're going to have to hope that you're in the high 60s to at least being in the 70s just to take him on. Because his team at the time would be uh, Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Pikachu, Snorlax, Lapras, and I think I said them. I, I must be mistaking some. Yeah, I did say 6. But then again, SBM will be trading for. I mean, Lapras will be traded in for Espeon. And I have to say that when it comes to Crystal, when you usually think of these um, third versions, you're thinking these games would improve something. Crystal doesn't really do that, in all honesty. When it comes down to it, Crystal just um, locked a lot of Pokemon, making it really hard to really complete some teams when it comes to Crystal in general. So honestly, it's more of a downgrade when you really think about it. Despite some of the benefits you could get, it's a real big downgrade. So honestly, I have to put it with Pokemon Red and Blue. I'm not going to be putting it into F tier because a lot of the stuff makes it really bad and it deserves to be ranked down at least one whole tier. Just like what I did with Pokemon Yellow. I'm not going to be offensive, I'm not going to be biased, and all that. Now, we got into uh, the Pokemon, the third generation Pokemon, which is Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Now, this is the generation where I started playing Pokemon. My first game was Pokemon Ruby. And after replaying it some time ago and playing Pokemon Emerald for the channel, I have to admit, it's still a really good game, even to this day. All the good stuff and all that. But it's not perfect. And yeah, it's not the perfect thing. That's all I'm going to really say. There's not a lot of bad things to really say. There's not a lot of things that I can really point out. The starters were amazing. The region itself was great. And instead of facing some grunts, we get some actual interactions with the legendary Pokemon. Instead of the legendary Pokemon just being like a side quest and all that. We get to get more involved with the legends and themselves. And well, I do think the reasoning behind why Team Magma and Team Aqua going after Kyogre and Groudon is really weird in some sense. It also makes sense with how they're going about it, and they're at least consistent about it. So in general, I can't say I hate this game, even with my fondness of it. It has a good lineup of starters. It brings in a good level challenge. The only thing I can really say that I don't really like about this version is our rival. Whether if you play as May, then it's Brendan, or if you're Brendan, it's May. I think you get the point. I'm not liking that part when it comes to this. And it's just that part that really just disappoints me because we don't really have a rival. Their Pokemon isn't to the final evolution like we got in the previous 2 generations. But other than that, the games are really good, but they're not perfect. They have their flaws. I'm thinking there's some Pokemon that you can't get in Ruby that you can get in Sapphire, and the same thing for Sapphire. And if you're trying to get Milotic, yeah, no. But yeah, honestly, I think this deserves to be in A tier. Next up, we have Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, the reboots of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green. And this game did have some major evolutionary changes. Quick fact, the reason a remake was made was because of the fact that the original Red, Blue, and Green and Yellow weren't really going to be compatible. And there was a lot of stuff that they wanted to do that they couldn't really do back then with all the resources that they had. So it led to them, and that is to say Pokemon / Nintendo, it made them work hard on the remakes, and we got the remakes now. And that is the story of remakes in Pokemon. They're not really made with the intention of improving something or not. They're usually made to basically are basically just made for just improving old mechanics that could have been better with the now more current resources. Hence why Fire Red and Leaf Green were made. It's not something grand, it's not some cash grab, technically. Because let's be honest, there's usually is a cash grab. It was because of all the faults that Red and Blue had. But along the way, it also wasn't that much of an improvement. It followed the same mechanics as Red and Blue, but it was a lot more interesting. The stats were more balanced compared to Red and Blue. We got end game content and various other stuff. And there was more stuff to help with finding everything. So while I'm not saying it's a great thing, it also isn't a bad thing. Also, to further get into detail, we have some Pokemon like Golbat, which could turn into Crobat, and we don't really have the evolutionary there, even though it still is there. And there was no day and night cycle, which honestly made playing the game a bit harder, because you could, with Eevee there too, you could have gotten Umbreon and Espeon. Like I'm saying, the game isn't perfect. It was just basically remade from the original Red and Blue source, and it was just to make the game better with the resources it now currently have, because they thought, hey, you know what? With the resources we have, we could probably perfect the game we tried to perfect. So it still wasn't perfect, because apparently there was something to be appearing in the Sevi Islands, but they couldn't really do anything about it. Something about Pokemon. I don't know what it is, but despite all the improvements, I think it only deserves one rank up. It's basically the original. It's basically the originals, but more upgraded, more software developed, with all the more current stuff like stats and various other things, but we also get the Steel type moves and the Dark type moves, which is an interesting thing considering we don't have Dark and Steel type Pokemon. Oh, and a little fact, a bit more on Gold and Silver and Crystal. Some Pokemon aren't being. You couldn't access certain Pokemon, especially Johto-related Pokemon, until you get to the Kanto region. Even though there's some Kanto Pokemon in the Johto region, and there's some. And you see some trainers having some Kanto Pokemon that you can't get until you get to the Kanto region. It's a big clusterfuck. I'm not gonna be polite on my words about it. It's a weird thing. And right now, we're up to the next game, which is Pokemon Emerald. And for this one, I have to say, it's one of the best games. It's the right way to make a third game for a region. We got to face both Team Aqua and Magma. We got to see Rayquaza. We got to go catch Rayquaza. We got to face the Reggies. We got to, I don't know, I don't remember if the Reggies were in Ruby and Sapphire. That's the one thing I'm going to admit. But we got the Battle Frontier. We got Pokemon contests. We got various other things. And we got Pokemon that. We got a lot more Pokemon. In all honesty, all the content provided from Emerald was so great, so perfect that it combined both Ruby and Sapphire together into a way that just massively improved the game. And with a lot of the more added stuff, it just, to me, it made the game perfect. No, truly perfect. But there's one game that I can say is surpassing this one. I love the Hoenn region. It's the region I started with, but there's one region I can say for sure surpasses this one. And right now, we're going into that region right now. Pokemon Pearl and Pokemon Diamond are going to be the first ones representing this region. And I gotta say for sure, certain, this region was the toughest region. If anyone said old Pokemon games weren't good, then let me tell you this. Sinnoh was insane. The crit damage, the battles you have to do, and the champion herself, Cynthia, was an insane thing to do. Alright, before I continue on, I have to admit that there is a few things I forgot to mention that Emerald has done, and that was the fact that Abilities and Double Battle came out around the same time as Emerald, so it increased Emerald's likability by a lot. We also got some other battle stuff like the battle tent, and yeah, that's all I can really say. Now for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, what I'm gonna say here is, how to put it? Diamond and Pearl, I think I already said it. It's one of the toughest regions, and anyone that of the current generation has to admit that it is, if they ever replayed it. And anyone that says it's not, you really haven't played Gen 4. So what I can say about this region, it had a more insane difficulty rush. Difficulty increased. We got some really tough gym leaders. When you get closer, we have Cynthia, who was a beast, and you had to really, really plan out how you did everything. And if you weren't careful, you're screwed. Like, there's no joke. What else can I say? Well, what I can admit is that as a flaw for this game, and it's a really, really big flaw, it's the fact that the the ratio for certain types is a bit insane. Fire types. And Diamond and Pearl, the only two fire types you could physically get are the Chimchar line and the Ponytail line. And depending on which one you play, it would be really dumb just to uh, pick a certain Pokemon. Like, it would be really, really dumb. Because that was a big issue. Even Flint's team, a member of the Elite Four, had a big issue when it came down to fire types. And it wasn't pretty. I know for a fact that, for sure, if I remember correctly, he had a Steelix. And yeah, this was like the biggest fumble that Game Freak made. And it wasn't a pretty one. The battles were still good. The evil team was still uh, a masterpiece. This one was way different than all previous um, evil lead, evil teams in Pokemon, and yeah, Black Team Galactic was basically a madman trying to make a new world by destroying the old world by trying to use the power of Pokemon deities. Insane. But with it has some big flaws. So it gotta go into B. In truth, I say that this game is above a lot of other games, but its its third game easily overshadows it and a lot of other games. Pokemon Platinum improved on what was lost. We got fire types. We got the Sinnoh Frontier. We got Garatina, and we have backstory and side quests that tells us a lot about what's going on within this region. So, in all honesty, this game has a lot to say that makes it really good. And I have to say, it's amazing how this game is. And this game totally deserves the S rank. It improved things by a large margin, and I have to say for sure that uh, that things turn out really spectacular for this game. Mass improvement. Cynthia's team became even harder in this game. We could catch both Palkia and Dialga. The only thing I can really say that's really bad was the fact that there was this weird thing in Pokemon Platinum where you could get Regigigas, but to get it, you had to get Regirock, Reggie Ice, and Registeel, which is a weird thing because I don't think they have the Pokemon Home where you can actually transfer it, or maybe I got it wrong, and you have to get Regigigas first. I can't remember correctly. It was just a really ridiculous thing involving the Regis, and that was a huge oversight, but that's only for people that are trying to complete the Pokedex, in all honesty. But yeah, this game has a lot of improvements and all that. So I honestly say it deserves to be in the top of S tier. Though there is one thing I have to say, and that's the battling system is very slow in Pokemon Platinum. But other than that, it has a major amount of improvements, good move sets. Pokemon from older generations are now being more implemented, like Magbaby and Elekid, and we can now have more evolved forms thanks to Electivire and so on. But yeah. Okay, now we're going to go on to the last game that came out in Generation 4. Alright, now it's time to talk about Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And this is probably the best duo of remakes. Because unlike Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, we got a game that has majorly improved the originals. Heart Gold and Soul Silver actually adapted elements from Pokemon Silver, Gold, and Crystal, added all together into both versions with various things, new events, where you can have more activities to do. We have the Safari Zone in this one, which allows you to get Pokemon that would normally you would have to go to Kanto to get, but you can get into the Safari Zone. With the exception that it has to be a certain day, certain time, and so on and so forth. Difficulty increase when it comes to finding red. Though I have to admit, there is still one big problem when it comes to Pokemon with this remake in the Johto region. And it's the level curve. Once more, the level curve is outrageous still. You have Lance's 3 inappropriately leveled Dragonite still, and various other Pokemon that shouldn't be at the level they are at, or the form they're at that certain level. But overall, despite all this, the game is really good. And if you know how to manage everything well, then this is a wonderful time for you to play. So I honestly have to say that this game deserves to be an S rank, along with Pokemon Platinum and Emerald. It has so many things that was improved upon, and it's one of the most appropriate ways to make a remake of a Pokemon game. Game Freak really cooked when it came to this one. And the only thing that's really left to say is, I don't know, it's just a really good remake. And supposedly, if done right, you can get the other box legendary in that one game. I don't know for sure. It's been a while since I played it, but I set my key points there. Next, we're going to hang out to Generation 5, which is going to be a really interesting one. All right. Gen 5. What can I say that hasn't been already said? Well, to be honest, when it comes down to Gen 5, I have to admit that it really did do something. That isn't to say it was bad. Far from it. It was a really good game with really good points to it. For one, the rivals felt like their own people, which is a great thing, in all honesty, because that means that we got characters that had their own story, they had their own development, and so on and so forth. We had Sharon, we had Bianca, we had N. And they all provided great story points for uh, the game. Though I have to admit, there is some downsides to Pokemon Black and White, which is mainly the level system. But we got new battle mechanics such as triple battle and rotation battle. All really good. Nothing really bad about that. And yeah, that's uh well, their leveling Pokemon evolution was a bit crazy, and some Pokemon just felt like they could have been the evolution to uh, previous old Pokemon, such as Buffalon being what could be the evolved form of Tauros, but we didn't get that. And then there was the Pokemon that looked like it could have been an evolved form for Love but wasn't. And yeah, honestly, they remade a new region and gave a whole new Pokedex of Pokemon without involving the older regions. And yeah, that is pretty cool. And the storyline is really great, emotional, and we got to see interactions and all that involving gym leaders, which is really cool. Furthermore, we honestly get a kind of an idea of what gym leaders do thanks to the games. We know that gym leaders don't really focus mainly on running the gym. They have their own jobs and all that involving the city. We have Silent and his brothers owning a restaurant. We have Clay and his company. We got, well, let's just say gym leader and the second gym leader who runs a museum. We have Elise who actually runs fashion and all that. And so on. We got a lot of stuff when it comes to Generation 5. And none of it is bad. It was really good. And I gotta say that Gen 5 has to go into S tier. There's a lot of good stuff, and the end game content is really good too. All the unexplored areas, all the side content, all the little details, it just all worked together really well and deserves the S tier. Next up is Pokemon White and Black 2, sequels to the original Black and White. And now I'm going to talk about the evil organization, Team Plasma. And Team Plasma, while the storyline for Black and White was amazing, it just felt like it was trying to copy Team Rocket a bit when it came to the second game, if only a bit. Well, it did get a bit more crazy with the added factor of Kiron. We got also older generation Pokemon appearing in early in Generation 5's remake. Riolu and Mareep which we could get for Lucario and Ampharos, which are really great additions to the team. Also, add to the fact that uh, this is a time skip game. This this sequel is a time skip of 3 years later after the events of Pokemon Black and White, which is really cool to see how things have changed in the region 3 years later. We also have a new battle facility where we can face people from older regions, especially Red, who is still a really tough opponent to face in Generation 5. We got new gym leaders like Roxy and uh, oh man, I forgot his name, but he's the water gym leader, and we know what happened with Chirin. He became a gym leader, trying to help and guide the next generation when it comes to Pokemon. Bianca became an assistant for Professor Juniper. We don't know where the original MCs for Black and White are, so that's a thing. I thought we were going to get in that red thing there, but from my travels throughout all of Unova, it still is wasn't perfect. The rival was really good though. Kept bringing up a challenge compared to Bianca and Chirin, in my personal opinion, who felt like they were more friends than rivals, in all honesty. And yeah, we got the Sword of Justice and so on and so forth. And while everything is good, it also lost a bit of the appeal that appeared with Black and White. But it's not a bad game. It's a really good one, a really good sequel, and something a lot of anything involving sequels should have followed into. Now, when I think about it, there's technically no other sequels at all. So, yeah. In truth, nothing else to really say. It's a great game. We got some great stuff. There are some downsides, like how it became somewhat generic in a way, but not really bad at all. Plus, we saw Iris becoming champion, which led up into the anime. Let me just say right now, while we're still on the topic of Generation 5, both versions should have been implemented into the anime. This would have been an amazing thing, but I think they just wanted to appeal to a younger audience. But in all honesty, if they didn't want to do the younger audience thing, they could have implemented all these elements from both Black and White and Black and White 2 and just put it together into a really, really good story. Because imagine Ash and N duking it out and coming to realization that Ash, as the hero of ideals, has more truth than him, and so on and so forth. Adding into the elements of interactions, and if we actually had more of Ash's maturity, this would have been a great season if they actually implemented it the right way. But because of all the stuff, and while it does have a lot of good stuff to really say about it, I'm going to have to put it to A, mainly because it lost some appeal compared to the original. But not in a bad way. It just tried to be different compared to the original, which was a bit weird, but it honestly isn't bad. I'm gonna have to really rethink about this list when we come to the end of it. Like if I'm gonna change some stuff. But next up is Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. And this is, God, I don't even know where to start with this. Let's start with the main thing, and that is Pokemon X and Y was the next generation of Pokemon, where instead of doing anything else, they try to use 3D model sprites. And more or less, it felt like X and Y was more of an experiment for this kind of project, which they could have improved upon when it came to a third game, which they never did, which is really annoying. While the Mega Evolution function is really good, I can't help but think that this region just had more of this is going to be the testing thing that we're going to test out, and we just want audience reaction. That's it. That's all I can really say. The gym leaders were jokes. They couldn't Mega Evolve. You couldn't rematch them. And while the Battle Cafe that you could go up against at the as post end game content is a bit interesting, it's not very appealing in all honesty. Compared to things like the Battle Frontier and so on. And while a bit interesting, while at first, we also have the friend safari where if you can get friend, where if you're friends with someone, you can actually, that person can actually get you a certain type of Pokemon. It's that way that I managed to actually get a Chespin, which was really cool because that was probably the first game where I actually got all 3 starters, which is really cool. Anyway, yeah, in all honesty, it felt like this game had a lot less personality. The evil organization, a part of this game, wasn't even challenging either. It didn't provide a challenge, and the only other people that could Mega Evolve in a battle was Lysander, Corina, and Diantha when it came to her Mega Metagross. I mean, not Mega Metagross, Mega Gardevoir, which is a weird one to really say. But then again, with all the Mega Pokemon they had to use someone. They have to get the champion a Mega Pokemon for the region that allowed Mega Pokemon. The Megas weren't really bad, but I felt like they could have been more implemented, more used, if the gym leaders actually had Mega Pokemon themselves that could counter our Mega Pokemon that we could get, and show us how difficult it is to face trainers with Mega Evolution. We could have also gotten rivals that could Mega Evolve. Or we could have got rematch battles where we could face the gym leaders in 2 levels. First one is after defeating the champion. The first time where their levels are going to be a bit higher, more around the levels that Elite Four and Diantha were around, and defeating them a second time, the champion that is, their levels in Pokemon would be around the same level. But around that point, it would be full 6-on-6. they could have done that, and so on and so forth. But it was really lackluster. The story was lackluster. The gym leaders and the champion didn't even feel like they were involved. Black and White and Generation 4 games actually had more character interaction than people from the league than anything else, which is insane when you really think about that. So, in truth, while not terrible, it's not going to get really high on the list. And I have to either put Pokemon X and Y at C or D. I'm going to need a moment to really think about this one. All right. So X and Y are going to be put into C tier. Next up, we're going to be doing Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And this is... I really don't want to trash on Generation 3, but I'm going to have to a bit here. While the games are a graphical improvement, and let's be honest, our rival can actually be a major opponent at the end after we beat the champion. If it doesn't feel like a good remake, in all honesty. It mainly focuses on the main storyline of Ruby and Sapphire, and after looking into it a bit, I found the explanation why, and it was just more of a remake that was supposed to go hand in hand with X and Y, which doesn't really solve anything. I mean, they did Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and they made major improvements. They added implements of the Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and add factors of all of it together to make the game extremely better. And it makes me wonder why they couldn't do it for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It's really dumb, it's really weird, and honestly, it deserves to be a rank below the original Ruby and Sapphire. So, yeah. Well, the Mega Evolution added was good. It's just took away a lot of charm. Also, we lost the Battle Frontier in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I really can't forgive that. They took away the biggest challenge in that game. So, yeah, no. And now we're on to Generation 7. Pokemon Sun and Moon. Okay. What can I say about Sun and Moon? Well, the game versions were actually a bit better than the anime version. That's for sure. And what does it say? For one, our rival in Sun and Moon isn't that much of a rival. I mean, the first Pokemon they pick for a starter is the type that's weaker than ours, which is weird. So you get Lyn, they pick Rowlet. We pick Poplio, they pick Litten. We pick Rowlet, they pick Poplio. That makes no sense. It was just weird how that worked. The storyline was interesting at the very least, and the Z-moves were interesting when shown, and the battle tree was really good. When you get to the battle tree, you get to fight Red or Blue, which is really cool, and you can fight people from previous generations, such as Cynthia, and there's Wally, don't know how he got there, and so on and so forth. And honestly, but think about this game, it feels like an incomplete game too. Like, in general, it just feels off. Like, they didn't fully complete the making of this game because they tried to talk about the Ultra Beast, which was cool, but the way they talked about it in the original Sun and Moon wasn't really appealing. They had the Ultra Beast become side content that you could just find and call it a day. And then they add Necrozma, which you could just find, and there's no story, there's no anything about it. And weirdly enough, you expect that every single Z crystal you have to face someone or do a certain task or something just to get it. But in the end, you don't. A lot of them you just have to find yourself. The only thing I can really say that was really cool is when you become the champion, you're not facing someone, you're the champion and you're facing other people, which is really cool. But other than that, I gotta give it a C. But now we got into Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which is a great improvement. We got more story involving the Ultra Beasts. We got more lore involving them. And that's an interesting thing because a lot of the story is completely interesting about Necrozma, about how the Ultra Beasts were formed, about the theories that a lot of the Ultra Beasts were made from Pokemon that are from some of the regions we have seen, but were completely mutated thanks to the accident involving Necrozma. And we got the end game content of facing Team Rainbow Rocket. And it makes me think we could have had a lot of this stuff in the Sun and Moon anime, and it's unfair that we don't actually have it. Well, not a big deal, and not really important to this video. It is something that is really infuriating. But despite all these improvements, it's the same game. Like, no joke. Until we get to the part where we have to get Nebby to a certain location to evolve them into either Solageo or Lugana, everything's actually very much the same, with only a few event stuff that are different, and the Ultra Recon Squad. And their interactions are pretty minimum compared to a lot of other stuff. I don't know if I should put this into B tier or C tier next to the original. Give me a moment. All right. So after some outside help, I'm thinking C. A lot of the story is pretty much the same, and it has a lot of the same flaws. And while it does have some good improvements, I'm gonna at least bump it up a little past and put it into the middle of C tier. Now we have the Let's Go games. Okay. Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. The two games that allow you to, if you have Let's Go Eevee, have Eevee as a starter Pokemon, and if you have Pikachu, it's literally Pikachu as your starter again. honestly, I have no idea what to really say about this one. It's Kanto again. We got uh, a new MC, a new rival, and that's really it. Like, there's not really much to really say. We still have the same 151 Pokemon. We still face Team Rocket. We still have to defeat Giovanni. We still have to fight our rival at the end. The only thing is that this game has better graphics, but we have to use the methods involving Pokemon Go, which is honestly infuriating because it just feels way too much like a Let's Go game. And for something that's supposed to be improvement, it doesn't really do that. The only positives I can really say is that we can fight red, blue, and green. But it seems like their teams are more based on their manga counterpart, which is a weird thing. The only other plus would be to mention that we can actually get all Pokemon again. Like, we can catch all 151. It's just the methods involving it and the fact that this game doesn't really have any improvements to the original is honestly infuriating. It feels like Game Freak and Nintendo just want to throw the same game on us over and over again to see what they can do to make it stick. Add into the fact that we don't have Johto Pokemon or or the Pokemon that the Pokemon from Kanto can evolve into is even worse. I'm pretty sure you can't even get Pichu. The good thing, though, is that both Pikachu and Eevee have their own special move, which is really cool, but otherwise not very appealing. Now we have Pokemon Sword and Shield, Generation 8, and honestly, it 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 oh my god, I don't even. It's a really easy game. Like, it's remarkably easy. They give you candies where you can level up Pokemon after doing certain stuff. Like, uh, and the whole region just seems so linear this time around. And Gigantamax and uh, all that is just, while good on paper, if I have to compare it to C moves and Mega Evolution, it doesn't really stack up well against them. And I have to say that it's a major deprovement. The storyline isn't even interesting, and while they say the champion Leon is supposed to be a very strong character, and they say that a lot in this game, they don't really show it. This battle, if you pick the right team and have it at least well balanced enough, you can beat him really easily. And honestly, that's a bit embarrassing, in all honesty. Not much to really say about the other stuff because it's alright, average a bit. Honestly, I can't really put it any higher than C uh if I want to be really nice about it. But if I'm gonna be brutally honest, and if I don't count the DLC, which you gotta pay for, the main storyline, it's just it's a lot more of a disappointment compared to the the last 4 games. Well, not let's go. Let's be honest. Let's go. Uh, literally pooped in the bed. It literally pooped in the bed, and there's nothing to really say about it. Okay, now we got 4 games left. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Oh wait, this thing only has whatever. Let's count Scarlet and Violet as the same thing. We got the remakes for Generation 4, Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl. Or was it Brilliant Diamond? Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. We got Legends Arceus and Legends ZA. So, what to really say about all 4 of these games? Let's get the obvious one out of the way, though. The remakes for Diamond and Pearl, honestly, a D tier. It's really inferior compared to the original Diamond and Pearl, mainly because it's the same thing. And while it does have its benefits, such as when you face Cynthia again, she's going to be stronger and supposedly has the best IVs when you can face her. But everything's technically the same in Sinnoh. But worse, it's not following Platinum's gameplay guidelines. It's following Diamond and Pearl's, meaning by going by this method, there's only 2 fire types you can play in the entire region for a team. Ponyta and Chimchar, if you actually choose Chimchar as your Pokemon. Add to the fact that a lot more Pokemon you can't really grab until you get the equipment to go to the underground where you have to dig and interact online and various other things. And it's just yeah. Well, it has a lot of positives. It doesn't really save it from the fact that it's just basically Diamond and Pearl, just remodeled with new looks and all that. And honestly, it's not that very appealing. Add to the fact that I believe correctly that there's no Battle Frontier again for the region that has its own Battle Frontier. They took a lot of stuff away, and now it's just barely recognizable. Alright, I avoided this well enough. Scarlet and Violet. Well, this is going to be something. Well, the battle mechanic for Scarlet and Violet Trioscolask, the fact that it can change any Pokemon from its current typing to a single typing that it's aligned with is actually really interesting. Though, again, when it comes to strongest trainer kind of sense thing, it follows the same thing as Leon. They say that this one trainer is the strongest and all this and all that, and they really weren't. They actually weren't. It it's just honestly, it follows the same thing that Sword and Shield did, only that it's slightly better because there is a lot more good Pokemon that you can get. Because now we got Paradox Pokemon, Pokemon that are variations of the Pokemon we know from ancient prehistoric time to a possible far distant future. One being one part of the Paradox Pokemon being the prehistoric era, having actually looking similar to prehistoric, like uh, dragons and all that, with Salamance's form looking incredible. But we also got the other version, which is the one I'm more interested in, being the Paradox Pokemon from the future, having cybernetic looks, that is to say, with the Swords of Justice looking completely awesome. And I gotta be honest, I can't remember all their names because they are very long. And then we have the Gallade / Gardevoir fusion looking Paradox future Pokemon, which is really cool. And supposedly it's said that from what I'm hearing a lot, it's the best one for competitive play when it comes to a full Scarlet and Violet team. I don't know about that. Though that might be a bit biased for me to say because there's a certain Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet that I prefer better than others, but that's just bias right there. Next, we have Legends Arceus and CA, two separate games. In Legends Arceus, it really changed the format, letting us have a free roam and actually having true interactive battles. Like, we can actually move around in the battle, and our Pokemon too, and they can physically dodge. Really cool, actually. And the Hisuian Pokemon were awesome to see this time around, and it followed a really different format compared to any other Pokemon game that we have been a part of. And I have to say that it's a little different and a bit challenging, especially considering that a lot of the stuff you have to do, you're going to have to really, really work hard on this. And the battles that we have are interesting, but the biggest thing is Volo, Cynthia's ancestor, who has a team similar to her own, making her, him, technically, making Volo actually now the strongest person you have to ever face in the Pokemon series. Considering that he has 6 Pokemon, then you have to face him when he's using Giratina, and you have to face him with Giratina changing form again, so you have to technically fight and bring a Pokemon down to 0 HP 8 times, which is really ridiculous and completely BS, but it's also the strongest battle that anyone could ever ask for, and it has to go in S tier. Considering you can actually face Arceus 2, which is really cool in my personal opinion. And finally, we got the last Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends ZA, where we got more Mega Pokemon, such as Mega Greninja, Mega Delphox, Mega Chestnut, Mega Raichu Y and X, if you got the DLC, and so on and so forth. There is a long list, and I can't remember them all by name. And if I pull up that list, we're going to be here for a while. So what do I say about Legends CA? Honestly, it's a way better than the X and Y games, and the storyline it provides is interesting. Though I have to say that the graphics and all that is a bit more uh, strange, and we're restricted to the center of Kalos, Luminos City. We can't leave or anything like that. We're stuck in Luminos, and that honestly can get a bit boring. I'm gonna be honest, but the battles there is interesting. The way to get Mega Pokemon is really interesting too, and we got a lot of good stuff too. In truth, I have to say that this game is more of a beat here, in all honesty. It has a lot of good stuff, a lot of Pokemon we can get, making capturing Pokemon a bit more easier, especially considering that a lot of the Pokemon that gained a Mega Evolution are starter Pokemons. But the starter Pokemons we're having this time around Totodile, Chikorita, and Tepig. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I wouldn't say it's bad either. It's just good enough to actually be really fun to play at your own pace. And if we do count the DLC stuff is really cool as well and involves more story and lore. We can learn more about Kalos and so on and so forth. Especially ZA, the guy who, yeah, our immortal guy who became a hotel owner after the years away from uh, Kalos. Weird of it to be like that. Plus, Zagar gets a Mega Evolution, which is really cool too. But overall, yeah, that's what I gotta say about that. And with this, we are finally done with this tier list. And it's I can already hear people actually screaming and hating about my comments on where I put these games. And I can already see some of them are going to be fighting about certain games, but I'm trying to be unbiased and unfavored. Ugh, I'm not. I'm trying to be completely unbiased here and picking no favorites here. Even though there are some games that I do like, despite the fact that Sun and Moon had a lot less charm when it comes to a lot of their stuff, I do enjoy those two games, and putting it into C tier is a bit bitter on my part to really do, but it's still something to enjoy, in my personal opinion. I'm just being completely unbiased here. Even Fire Red and Leaf Green, despite putting it into C tier, I think it deserves to be, in personal opinion. But I'm going to be clear once more. I try to be unbiased when it came to these choices. So with this all said, I do hope that you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be sure to see you all in the next one. So until then, everyone, bye.